Mutual de Seguridad le da la bienvenida a esta actividad. A continuación, les invitamos a conocer y respetar las medidas de seguridad en caso de presentarse alguna emergencia, tal como incendio, sismo o evacuación. Desde ya les solicitamos mantener las vías de tránsito expeditas. Este lugar cuenta con señalización visible, para lo cual le invitamos a familiarizarse con ella. Ante una alarma de incendio, mantenga la calma en todo momento. Siga las instrucciones del personal de apoyo del plan de emergencia o del expositor. Si hay presencia de humo en el recinto, agáchese al piso y evite respirar los vapores y el humo. Manténgase siempre atento a las indicaciones que se le entreguen. En caso de sismo, conserve la calma. Aléjese de las ventanas, lámparas o puertas vidriadas. Manténgase en el recinto. Evacúe el recinto solo si se lo indican los integrantes del grupo de apoyo y diríjase a la zona de seguridad que se le indique. Recuerde que la preparación es la clave en la prevención. Mutual de Seguridad. Agregamos valor protegiendo a las personas.
Muy buenos días a todos y a todas. Les voy a solicitar que la gente que esté sentada ahí se coloquen las mascarillas. Solamente la gente que está aquí en el podio puede estar sin mascarillas para dar la presentación. La Universidad Autónoma de Chile da a ustedes la bienvenida al segundo seminario Campus 5G, que en su segunda versión 2022 abordará la temática electromovilidad y seguridad en minería. Las tecnologías móviles de quinta generación, 5G, conectan a personas, cosas, datos, aplicaciones, sistemas de transporte y ciudades en entornos de redes de comunicaciones inteligentes. Las redes transportan un gran volumen de datos con mucha más rapidez, conectan de manera fiable un gran número de dispositivos y procesan volúmenes sumamente grandes de datos con el mínimo retardo. Las tecnologías 5G dan soporte a aplicaciones tales como edificios y hogares inteligentes, ciudades inteligentes, videos 3D, trabajo y juegos en la nube, servicios médicos a distancia, realidad virtual y aumentada y comunicaciones masivas, de máquina a máquina para la automatización de la industria. Las redes 3G y 4G existentes tienen dificultades a la hora de ofrecer estos servicios. En este contexto, el segundo seminario Campus 5G abordará distintas aplicaciones para la industria, considerando desafíos de hoy para una industria relevante del mañana. Saludamos a quienes nos acompañan en esta jornada, a nuestro vicerrector de sede de Santiago, don Francisco Valletti Díaz, a nuestro decano de la Facultad de Ingeniería, el doctor Lorenzo Reyes Bozo, al doctor Wolfgang Wegener, lo dije bien, Co-Chief Executive Officer in Becker Mining Systems, Dr. Dean Robinson, Vicepresidente en Sales Mailer Technology Incorporated, el señor Felipe Rodríguez, de Augmented Analytics, Emercom, directivos, docentes, investigadores y estudiantes, nuestros estudiantes de la Universidad Autónoma de Chile, e invitados externos y a todos quienes nos acompañan en la transmisión. Tengan ustedes muy buenos días y bienvenidos. Muchas gracias por su presencia. Para iniciar esta actividad, entonces, se dirige con unas pequeñas palabras el vicerrector de sede, don Francisco Valletti Díaz. Le damos la bienvenida.
Muy buenos días a todas y a todos, a las autoridades de la universidad que hoy día nos acompañan, a los ejecutivos de las empresas que también están con nosotros, a ustedes, los estudiantes, a los profesores, y sean mis primeras palabras para agradecer algo que vimos a fines del año pasado, al principio de cuando firmamos este convenio de ser Campus 5G. La verdad es que las cosas a veces quedan en los papeles, quedan en los convenios. Los abogados no hemos ganado la vida, como digo yo, siempre escribiendo mucho y nunca hemos hecho flotar una piedra, pero esa es la diferencia con los ingenieros, que sí han hecho flotar muchas piedras. Entonces ocurre que uno cuando firma estos convenios dice, ¿y cuál va a ser el fruto de estos convenios? Y hoy día estamos viendo ya este segundo seminario de 5G que enriquece a nuestros estudiantes, enriquece a nuestros profesores, enriquece a todos quienes estamos en el mundo universitario. ¿Por qué? Porque la universidad, como lo he dicho tantas veces, tiene que dialogar con la sociedad, tiene que dialogar con la empresa. La universidad no se puede quedar dentro del aula, la universidad debe salir fuera del aula. Y esta es una de las formas como sale fuera del aula, porque se relaciona con las empresas. Y por eso la investigación es muy importante que sea una investigación aplicada, porque eso le da riqueza al país, enriquece, ¿no es cierto?, todo el sistema productivo del país. La minería es una de las grandes áreas productivas de Chile, ¿quién lo va a negar? Pero no solo es un área productiva, es también un área que crea, ¿no es cierto?, desarrollo en los pueblos. Es geopolíticamente importante en Chile la minería. Ustedes se imaginarán qué sería de Taltal si no hubiese minería, Salado, incluso Salamanca en el norte chico. Tantas ciudades y pueblos de Chile que viven gracias a la minería. Pero tiene que ser una minería sustentable, tiene que ser una minería limpia, tiene que ser una minería verde. Y a eso estamos luchando y nuestros investigadores están trabajando precisamente en eso, para lograr eso. Y ese gran esfuerzo, ustedes que luego van a ser ingenieros de cualquiera de las 3 ingenierías que entrega nuestra universidad, tienen que seguir desarrollando esa idea. Por eso, creo que estos seminarios enriquecen sin lugar a dudas los estudios de cada uno de ustedes. El haber salido de la sala de clase hoy día no significa que no van a aprender, muy por el contrario. Hoy día van a recibir un gran flujo de información, que significa el 5G, ¿no es cierto?, en este caso en la seguridad minera. Chile, se lo decía, lo conversábamos con Felipe Rodríguez antes de entrar a esta reunión, Chile tiene unos muy buenos estándares de seguridad minera, pero todavía nos falta más. Y por eso el 5G va a facilitar no solo a las grandes empresas, a veces tengo mi corazón en la pequeña minería y en la mediana minería. También quiero que esto rebalse, que las empresas rebalsen a la pequeña y gran minería. Y también lo haga en las pequeñas, en la mediana minería, pero también lo hagan los proveedores mineros. Es muy importante que la seguridad minera también esté en los proveedores mineros. Ya vendrán seminarios al respecto donde también vamos a trabajar ese tema. Muchas gracias a la Facultad de Ingeniería, muchas gracias al doctor Lorenzo Reyes por organizar este seminario, a las empresas que nos cooperan, a todos ustedes que hoy día se van a enriquecer con la información y también a quienes nos siguen por streaming. Muchas gracias.
A continuación, el ingeniero Alejandro Pérez, de Aumentec Analytics, nos contextualizará la temática de este seminario asociado a la electromovilidad.
¿Lo conectan allá o acá lo abro? ¿Ya lo tienen cargado allá? ¿O hay que abrirlo? No sé, recién lo probamos, pero pensé que lo estaban abiertos.
poner a la antigua. Muy buenos días, muchas gracias a todos por estar acá. Mis primeras palabras son para que sepan que no soy ni Javier ni María José. Ayer ellos estaban en la minera, Valle Central, y salieron positivo a COVID. Hoy día Javier me está escribiendo que lamenta mucho no poder estar con su presentación acá, pero se siente muy mal. Está con licencia y son lo que nos tenemos que acostumbrar en estos tiempos, ser adaptables. Quiero contarles cómo fue esto. Nosotros teníamos este seminario un viernes, donde podían venir los mineros, trabajamos 4x3, los jueves llegamos a Santiago y el viernes tenemos seminarios, cursos y hacemos trámites. Dado situaciones que tenemos la suerte de tener acá a Wolfgang, a nuestro CEO, cambiamos del viernes a este miércoles y por eso me toca a mí. Javier es del grupo GIZ de la corporación y tiene el grupo 1.200 empresas mineras socios que están en eficiencia energética, así que me va a tocar a mí darle las gracias a todos los que están en forma, los mineros que están sacando el cobre por nosotros, darle las gracias que estén en forma en nuestro canal de YouTube. Espero no se me quede ninguna empresa minera de los que están presentes, pero queremos darle las gracias, como se llama, a Codelco, en especial a Teniente, que sabemos que está un superintendente, Chuquicamata, que ahí está nuestro amigo Néstor, que también están ahí, está el superintendente, el gerente general de Chuquicamata Subterráneo, tenemos a los Bronces, que está justamente también presente, tenemos al grupo AMSA, ahí tenemos a Antucoya con su reciente inauguración de su taxibús eléctrico, tenemos, como se llama, a Pelambre, que siempre ha estado con nosotros y la vez pasada participó, tenemos, como se llama, a TEC, y en especial también fue expositor, pero por GIZ, a Soquimich, que tiene el proyecto de electromovilidad más atractivo en este momento, con 44 vehículos de distintas marcas y modelos, probando desde la cordillera al mar, 160 kilómetros, para poder hacer que la electromovilidad sea una realidad. Yo quiero poner en contexto qué nos motiva, qué estamos haciendo hoy día. Nosotros desarrollamos en el primer seminario, junto a alumnos, ingenieros propios, todo, Código de Rescate. Código de Rescate es una aplicación que nosotros la conseguimos desde la Mercedes-Benz, que está liberada, igual que Volvo inventó el cinturón de seguridad y lo liberó, porque antes del lucro estaba más importante la seguridad y todos tienen derecho a hoy día tener cinturones de seguridad de 3 puntas, siendo que la patente es de Volvo. Mercedes-Benz hizo una aplicación para las rescatistas, el ABC de la emergencia que se llama acá, que después lo van a explicar, que es la ambulancia, bomberos y carabineros, cuando hay un accidente puedan entrar lo mejor informados. Ellos crearon la tecnología para poder acercarse con una aplicación, poder ver cómo desarmar correctamente un vehículo y en especial ahora con la electromovilidad, los cables de alta tensión. Afuera, gracias a Miller, van a tener una maqueta de un kit de conversión a vehículo eléctrico donde van a ver los cables naranja y poderlos tocar sin riesgo. Hoy día, para este segundo seminario, ya tenemos la versión beta del Código Rescate. Hoy día estamos armando el cuerpo bombero de Maipú, que acá está presente Raquel, y vienen varios otros atrasados. Allá, muchas gracias por venir. Siempre con días con lluvia, todo, hay más accidentes, así que tenemos muchos bomberos que vienen atrasados, así que le agradecemos. Pero tomamos un desafío bonito, porque la verdad cuando uno hace estas cosas tiene que motivarse, tiene que tener un relato, una historia bonita. Y esto salió de las Naciones Unidas, esta meta preciosa que se llama 50-30, que significa bajar los accidentes y las fatalidades 50% al 2030. Nosotros como compañía, que Felipe lo explicará, asumimos un compromiso con las Naciones Unidas de hacer todos los esfuerzos que podamos para dejar que hayan fatalidades. ¿Qué especialidad tenemos nosotros? El camino, la ruta minera desde la faena a que llegue el minero a su casa. ¿Qué pasa con la electromovilidad? Es algo nuevo, donde necesita ayuda para que esto sea un éxito. Entonces nosotros dentro de eso, que es la última, lo van a presentar, vamos a ver. Creo que presenté todo y quiero poner en contexto, dado que tampoco, ¿dónde suma esto con el Ministerio de Energía? Nosotros entramos dentro de un área de electromovilidad, que está en la página del Ministerio de Energía, telemática y electromovilidad. Nosotros cuando se nos invitó a participar y se nos nombró Campus 5G, tuvimos que tener un sello. Hay universidades, la Católica del Paraíso se dedica a los puertos, tenemos Concepción se dedica a las palas eléctricas, nosotros necesitamos. Y tuvimos la confianza del anterior subsecretario de Telecomunicaciones de nombrarnos Campus 5G. Y nosotros estamos muy orgullosos y tomamos el tema de juntar nuestras carreras. Nosotros tenemos ingeniería industrial, informática y química. Entonces, ¿qué era nuestra posibilidad? Tener software, entender las baterías eléctricas, tener a los industriales y con eso tomamos esta campaña muy de corazón de poder juntar lo que es telemática y electromovilidad y poder desarrollar productos, seminarios, todo para que esta área que puede ser pequeña, pero nosotros la encontramos muy importante, podíamos aportar al país, siendo muy especialistas en un área. Entonces, esta es la página donde explica, no tuve ninguna, lo copié nomás del ministerio para que no tuvieran que buscarlo, donde explica de qué se trata el desarrollo de la electromovilidad en el mundo y al último sale con 5G. Lo bonito acá, porque no todos pueden saber lo que es la electromovilidad y cuál es el plan del país. Entonces, aquí tomamos un video del Ministerio de Energía, que es el que quiero a continuación para que sirva de avance.
Enfrentamos una amenaza real. El cambio climático avanza de manera acelerada en nuestro planeta. Y esto no solo significa un aumento de las temperaturas, sino también fenómenos meteorológicos extremos, la elevación del nivel del mar y la pérdida de hábitats de flora y fauna silvestres, entre varios efectos. Uno de los principales emisores es el transporte, debido al uso de combustibles fósiles, pero a su vez es uno de los principales sectores que está presentando soluciones para enfrentar la emergencia climática. En Chile, aproximadamente un tercio del consumo energético pertenece a la actividad del sector del transporte, del cual sobre un 99% corresponde al uso de energía proveniente de derivados del petróleo. Es por eso que la incorporación de vehículos cero emisiones aparece como una de las tendencias de mayor innovación para reducir nuestras emisiones de CO2 y la contaminación, y así avanzar hacia un desarrollo económico sostenible. Estos vehículos eléctricos pueden llegar a ser hasta 7 veces más eficientes que los convencionales, generando importantes ahorros durante su uso. Son más silenciosos y requieren menos mantención. Además, un vehículo eléctrico no genera emisiones de CO2 si su electricidad se produce en base a energías renovables, energías que tienen un enorme potencial para su desarrollo en nuestro país. Hoy tenemos metas claras. Ser carbono neutrales al 2050, incorporando cada día más energías renovables a nuestra matriz energética y masificando la electromovilidad, que aportará con alrededor de un 20% de la reducción de nuestras emisiones. La buena noticia es que estamos avanzando muy rápido en el transporte público, con los nuevos taxis eléctricos, con los cargadores a lo largo de Chile, entre muchas iniciativas. Pero también somos conscientes que el cambio climático sigue avanzando con fuerza. Por esto, hemos decidido ir más allá con nuestras metas y actualizar la Estrategia Nacional de Electromovilidad. Así, al 2035, el 100% de las ventas de vehículos livianos y medianos serán cero emisiones. El 100% de las ventas de transporte público, buses, taxis y colectivos serán cero emisiones. El 100% de las ventas de maquinaria móvil mayor serán cero emisiones. Al 2040, el 100% de las ventas de maquinaria móvil menor serán cero emisiones. Y al 2045, el 100% de las ventas de transporte de carga y buses interurbanos serán cero emisiones. Sabemos que la meta es ambiciosa, pero estamos seguros que podrá convertirse en realidad, de forma que los beneficios de la electromovilidad lleguen a todos prontamente. Con más electromovilidad, mejorará la calidad de vida de los chilenos y tendremos un nuevo impulso económico para nuestro desarrollo. No hay tiempo que perder.
Por suerte tenemos un video que lo explica muy bien. porque si no se hacía eterno. Así que quiero darle las gracias a todos los ingenieros que se sientan orgullosos de este camino que es de todos. Así que muchas gracias. Ahora van a ver una presentación de clase mundial con Wolfgang. Muchas gracias. ¿Quién le carga la presentación a él? ¿Usted?
Agradecemos las palabras de Alejandro Pérez. Iniciaremos la conferencia de apertura de este seminario que abordará la temática Presentación de Becker Mining System AG en Latinoamérica y su visión de electromovilidad en minería, la cual será dictada por el doctor Wolfgang Wegener. El doctor Wegener estudió Ingeniería Industrial en la Universidad Técnica de Kaiserslautern, Alemania, y obtuvo su doctorado en Economía Empresarial en la Universidad de Saarland, Alemania. Ha estado dando conferencias sobre economía durante los últimos años y antes de incorporarse a la empresa en 2006, el señor Wegener trabajó para una empresa internacional de auditoría y consultoría. Ahora trabaja como co-CEO en Becker Mining System. Damos la bienvenida al doctor Wegener para que dé su conferencia. Doctor Wegener, por favor.
Gracias. Is that okay? No? Is this something on? No? Okay. So, muchas gracias. Buenos días. First of all, my apologies. My Spanish is not even there, so I will continue in English. So, yeah. Okay, we are fighting with technology. Okay. It's just a presentation about technology. It's all good. So I would like to thank, first of all, the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering, Dr. Lorenzo Reyes, and the General Manager of the company Augmented Analytics, Mr. Alexandro Perez, for the organization of this seminar. And thank you all for coming, and thank you all for watching wherever that then is. In COVID times, that tends to become normal. I have a presentation, and it would be good if we could show that. Or must I do something here? Which one? No. 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 Okay. Eric, we are prepared for emergencies. I have the presentation also on a stick, but we just sent it in yesterday, so I don't know what happened. Basically, just try to see it. Huh? So, but let's begin. So as was announced, I'm coming from the company Becker Mining Systems AG, company located in Germany. We are actually located in the middle of Europe, in Germany, on the French border, so more or less between Frankfurt and Paris. Why I'm telling that? Whenever one of you comes to Europe, it is highly likely that you will end up on one of the major hubs, which is either Frankfurt or Paris. So if that occurs, don't hesitate. Wonderful, my presentation. Don't hesitate to give me a ring or to contact the company and come and see what head office is like. So how can I proceed? Just with the computer? Yeah, now you also have a picture of the head office in Germany. As I said, you are cordially invited to come and see. Our slogan is, we live Mindtech. We choose that to make clear we are a technology company. We are a technology company in the field of mining. We are a company not to mine ourselves, but to give to mining companies the best possible technology to fulfill their daily work, which is the extraction of natural resources. And that we do in the sense that we enable mines to produce highly efficient, very, very safe, and of course, in accordance with the standards of the United Nations, so in a sustainable way. When we look at these sustainability goals, we find one goal, I think it's number 9, which also says innovation and R&D. Yes, to continue on that high level of top-class product, we invest each and every year 5% of our turnover in R&D to develop new products. And also, we have a number of cooperations with different universities, specifically also, of course, in Germany, RWTH Aachen, just to mention one, which is a major also mining university. And perhaps we will see, we can have a cooperation here with Chile as well. We would love to. You see another goal, and that other goal is training and education. Here, the mine is a very complex operation, and it's a very dangerous operation. It's like a production facility which is partially above and underground and which moves. So for that reason, to provide the best service for our customers in that dangerous and harsh environment, we make it one of our most important points to train our people to the best possible extent. And of course, we also look for sustainable jobs, for growth opportunities, also in different countries. You will see we are widely spread around the world with our subsidiaries and facilities. And yes, now we would like to start in Chile. What we do normally first is we start, which makes sense, with sales and service. The next step then is, after sales and service, we add local production, so we localize products. In Chile currently, we are in the first stage, so sales and service. And then you see on the left side, now for you on the left side, number 7 and number 13, which is clean energy and climate action. And we have just seen the video, so there is no doubt the world is speaking about that. There is no doubt the whole society will change, and there is no doubt also the mining industry will change. So over the next couple of minutes, I'm going to talk about, perhaps that works, milestones in management. So how did Becker Mining Systems AG develop? And what is the management structure of our company? Then we talk about the mining industry as such and the challenges we see. We talk about our product range. No worries, we have over 1,000 products. I'm not going to cover them all, just examples. And the evolution. What do we think? Where is the world going? And where are we going? Milestones and management. Becker is a family-owned business. So why do I mention that? Because as a family-owned business, we are not focused on quarterly results. We are not listed on a stock exchange, even if we have the form of an AG, which is a form of a public company. But all shares are held by one family. We're very proud to say that as of today, we employ the 3rd generation in the company. So you can see the 1st generation, the man who founded the company, Walter Becker. He was a mining engineer himself. My colleague, Professor Dr. Franz Becker, he's the CEO of the company. And his son, Maximilian Becker, is also an engineer, and he's heading the German Becker Mining Europe entity as of today. You can see the milestones. The company was founded in 1964. And as you also can see, perhaps, the first product was a transport product. Back then, of course, not electrical. Back then, it was diesel-driven. And from that German area, the Saar area, we moved on to the next German area, Ruhr area, and then we started internationalization very, very quickly. Because it was very clear from day one that coal mining in Germany will end, and that company originates out of coal mining. So we knew exactly, number one, we must leave Germany, and number two, we must also develop other pillars for the company to stand on other than coal mining, which we did. You can see the steps where we internationalized. So very early, very early already to Poland, also coal, but also to South Africa, biggest platinum producer in the world. Then over different steps up to Mexico, and Mexico joined the Becker Group in 2013, December 2013. And the last coal mine in Germany closed December 2018. That was a coal mine, Prosper Haniel. Over all these years, and as you can see, the latest big product lines we developed is energy distribution systems. We say it is the most controllable and the most compact energy distribution system gear you can find in the world. We'll talk about that a little bit later, as a company and the conference also is about energy and safety. And of course, we electrified our transport systems, so we developed electric transport systems for the underground use, for coal and non-coal. Most of our products are also suited for coal, that is extremely rugged gear, in other words, also suited for gassy areas, because a coal mine has a certain danger of explosion. 2022, yeah, we are in Chile for a number of years now, but in 2022 we decided to take that very serious. I also visited the Antofagasta mining show, Expo Nor. I was there with a German delegation from the German government and also from the German AHK. Ms. Sonnenberg was also there with, so I'm happy also that a member of the AHK is visiting today, so with Mr. Thilo Schaller. Yeah, we'll see later what the plans are, how we develop, and also why Chile. The management, top management in Germany consists of just 3 people. So the holding company, the first and most important one, of course, is one of the owners, Dr. Franz Becker, Professor Dr. Franz Becker. He joined the company already in 1981. So he is with us now, or with the company, for 41 years, which is incredibly long. He's leading the company since 1991. I myself, I think my CV was already presented. Thank you for that. So I joined in 2006. I came from a consulting company, and the original idea I had, I must confess, was to only stay for 3 years. And I said I want to see for 3 years how the world looks from the other side of the desk. So you can see 16 years later, I'm still there. So mining is a very interesting and challenging job. And it is very important in Chile. Chile has a big mining sector. I'm quite sure some of you also will end up in mining later, which is a great thing to do, I must say. And I have one further colleague. He joined already in 2007, Achim Benoit. He is the CFO of the company. We have subsidiaries, I say worldwide. We have our own companies in all these blue areas. And you can see the management team on the left-hand side. However, talking about these blue areas, that is not the only areas where we make business, because that is only the areas where we have our own companies, so daughter companies. In other areas, we work with distributors and/or agents. For example, the whole Sub-Sahara and also Indonesia. When we look at that slide, then I'm very happy to present as of today Mr. Jesus Flores, who is the managing director of the Becker subsidiary in Mexico and Zacatecas. You can see him on the left-hand side, third picture from above. And there was heading an operation of 220 guys approximately. And he is representing the Center of Excellence for software and also communication. Yeah. Then we also have on the right-hand side Maximilian Becker, as I said, He's representing the Center of Excellence for Automation and Energy Distribution, specifically for coal mines. And we have it on the other side, which is Albert Bauer. That would be the man in Canada, specifically for hard rock. And under Maximilian Becker, I think one down, I can hardly see it here, one down, there's Tomasz Butniok, Zwierklany, Poland. In Zwierklany, Poland, we have a big operation of 350 to 400 guys manufacturing transport systems, also manufacturing the electric transport system and also developing in that area. Yeah, for Chile, we have the three guys sitting here, but I also have the three photos there. So on the left-hand side is Eric Hart. He looks a bit different today, not because of the mask, but because of the beard, which is a good thing, Eric. Yeah, sorry. He is Chilean by nationality. He was born in Chile, but then most of the time raised in Australia. He's an Australian chartered electrical engineer, so Australian degree. He's currently working in Germany, but specifically looking after Chile. And then we have José Luis Guajardo, who is with us in Chile for, I don't know, José Luis, many, many years, 7, 8 years now, and he's very happy that we now decided to give the Chilean operation a real push. The next one is Ignacio Zuniga. He's with us for not so long now, for 6 months or so, Ignacio, for 6 months now, looking after the sales side of things, and maybe interesting for that auditorium here, we are looking into building a bigger group. So we are also looking to employ more guys. As I said, so far we have been working in Chile with distributors. We will shift that business model to own employees. On the down left, you see our premises in Chile. That's not so big at the moment. That's a warehouse plus an office, etc. So everything you need to get properly started. The right-hand picture is the stand at the show at the Exponor in Chile. And you see in the middle, the man in the white shirt is again Jesus Flores with his colleague Julio Oregi. And they are from Mexico. In other words, they speak Spanish. They have lots of experience when it comes to connectivity in mines. They have big projects for connectivity in mines. And they are the center of excellence for the smart flow software. They are here to help. They are here to facilitate the growth and the development of the Chilean entity. That is just some of our selected customers. Why do I show it? I show it so that you can see that A, the major mining houses of the world are working with us, and B, that we are in different commodities. Originated from coal mining, yes, but we are very big also in precious metals, in gold, in silver, in platinum, of course, in Canada, in nickel, yeah, you name it, fertilizer like potash, gypsum, whatever. And we are working with the big companies which are OEMs, so original equipment manufacturer like Komatsu and Caterpillar for underground mining, but also in tunneling. There we're working with Herrenknecht, one of the biggest tunneling companies, also located in Germany. We are currently having a job with them in America for 3 big transformer substations for a tunnel boring machine. Mining industry challenges. So what do we see when we look at the mining industry? Yeah, the first 2 challenges I said extraordinary. Of course, you're all sitting here with your mask. Corona. Corona and the impact. Corona had a big impact on all industries, but also on the mining industry. The mining industry, we could see basically a standstill and a lowering of production. In certain areas up to 30%. Why? Because it was difficult to get miners on the mine, number one, and B, it also was difficult for us to get service personnel to. Then of course, you have the second very unpleasant topic, which is the Ukraine war. That impact you can see easily when you look at energy commodity pricing. Third, also not one I would like to talk about too much, is the fact that mines also start to feel the climate change and also look at their own assets, asking themselves of which of our assets are endangered. There's lots of scientific studies around, naming things from floods and heat waves and droughts and everything, and checking which assets of a mine are basically endangered. So a typical example here always is a tailing dam, but there's also others. The next one, which I would like to talk about, is the necessary decarbonization, which we have seen in the video as well. How does that shift the demand for commodities, and how will that shift also what mining companies will mine? And the last one, how can mining companies decarbonize their own operation? So it's not only mining to decarbonize other operation, but also mining in a way that is sustainable. Climate for mining. Yes, there is climate for mining because we will need tremendous amounts of metals and minerals if we want to comply with the Paris 2-degree target. So 3 billion tons, that is a lot. And you can see when you look at wind and solar power, you can see the second topic always is copper, and there is also much more copper needed for other areas. When you compare energy generation from wind and solar to energy generation from fossil fuels, energy generation from wind and solar will need 4 to 6 times more copper to produce the same amount of energy. And of course, the battery technology. Now, that is a necessary change. What do we see in the mining industry as an effect of that? We see electromobility as a trend, very clear, and we see connectivity. 70% of the CO2 emission of a mine is just coming from energy consumption. 30% is from fossil fuels. So that 30%, and we see the trend in the mining industry, you can easily exchange, and not easily, but you can exchange towards electromobility. And that is something Mr. Dean Robinson is going to talk about later. With that electromobility, you can do one thing more. You can go one step further. You can have a connected mine where you know which vehicle is where you know which worker is where you can steer the mine more precise and even from above ground, so remotely. That more precise steering means lesser energy consumption. The most easy and understandable example is ventilation by demand. So you only put power to the fan if that is needed, if there is a human which is close and the area needs to be powered and the fan needs to run. Yeah, the shift of the demand in key commodities, or basically we could also say that is the slide. Why are we in Chile? Why am I standing here? Why are we interested? We are very interested because Chile, as you can see and as you all know, is mining almost a third of the copper. That picture is from 2018, but I checked it for 2021, and for 2021 it's exactly the same. So 28% of the copper is mined in Chile. And on the left-hand side, you see the figure 550 million tons of copper have been produced in the last 5,000 years. And it is said in the next 20 to 25 years, we will need the same amount again. So that is huge. And I was talking about wind and solar energy, and you can see, when you look at that circle, you can see the white portion of the circle and the upper blue. That is basically the white is wind, copper for wind energy generation, and the blue one is copper for solar energy generation. So 75% of the copper is going into wind and solar energy. For batteries, yeah, when you compare an electric vehicle with a combustion machine, then basically, again, you need around 4 times the copper you would need for a normal combustion machine. Okay. Talking about our product range, without making it too broad and without going through 1,000 products. Let's start the very easy beginning. Basically, we divide our products into electrical and mechanical. That is because the factory are mostly divided like that, not saying that the mechanical has lesser electrics in. When you look at a car as of today, an electric part has a malfunction, then you have a problem with your car. And as of today, it's a big problem because it's very, very hard to get spares, specifically electrical parts. The mine in the future, as I already said, we look for a safe, sustainable, and efficient place. The second topic here is that we are innovators in the field specifically of digitalization and electrification, because we see the mine of the future as a connected mine. All our products aim to save energy, water, air, whatever commodity. So that is for us the idea. Life cycle costs. I strongly believe that mines should look at life cycle cost when they purchase equipment. We have these discussions very often with the purchase departments. They tend to look mostly at the initial purchase price. We believe that what you learn in normal economic studies, that basically you can discount all costs to the starting point and have a net present value and can compare that with what you gain with the equipment. And that should be a thought which should be followed also in the mining industry. I cannot see why that should be other than in other industries. However, I tell you, it's tough to argue. Yeah, the Becker connected mine, what do we see? As I said, we would have a piece of software in the center to collect all information and to control the mine. We will have 3 backbones. One is leaky feeder, one is Wi-Fi, and the third one is LTE. The third one, LTE, we just lately added. And around that, we have what we call the ecosystem. So all the products you can then connect, and from all the products you can receive data, and from all the products you can then create respective working orders. So SmartFlow is a software developed in Mexico. And if you have further questions for modules, etc., I'm not going, because that would be like a week seminar. I'm not going through everything in detail. But we are here and we can ask questions, answer questions later. Is a software which displays a mine in a 3D model. And that 3D model tells you what is where in your mine in terms of infrastructure. It also can tell you who is where in your mine and what vehicle is where in your mine. It also can tell you what switchgear has what power consumption in the mine. So, and 1,000 other things as well. Ventilation on demand, pumping stations only when they need to pump, steering of conveyor belts, etc. Yeah. LTE, as I said, we recently added that. We had a discussion with Ericsson, and we are we have a partnership agreement, so we're the Ericsson partner for the mining industry. Ericsson will add the gear and make it available for us, and we will add the knowledge of how to implement an LTE system on a mine, and specifically also underground. Use cases, yeah, basically every machine and every person which you can connect to a network can send data via that network. So you can have data for voice and video communication, you can have data for autonomous transport and autonomous and remote machine operation, you can have data for preemptive maintenance from telemetry, etc. So it's huge. Our product lines, we have energy distribution, automation, communication, transport systems, and infrastructure products. No worries, I will only show you one example for automation and energy distribution. So the general idea is to combine that all via one connected network and to have all the information in one central point. So when it comes to SmartCom, then we have a new system which we newly developed as a proximity detection system. So it is about safety in a mine. You can attach that system to a vehicle and to a person. And the vehicle driver and the person gets warned in 3 different zones. So a zone which is around 50 meters around the vehicle, when it says, okay, there is someone which is 50 meters away on your left-hand side, or behind you, right-hand side. The driver will know. The driver gets a second alert when the person comes closer, and the driver gets a third alert when the person is too close, and we even can stop the vehicle. So we are connected then to the canvas system and can definitely brake. That increases safety big time. We can do that vehicle to vehicle or vehicle to person. And the zones, you are able to set the zones as you wish. However, not much more than 50 meters is the outer zone. Main course, mine controlling system, just in a nutshell. So whatever you need to automate, you can automate with our system. You can automate ventilation, you can automate a conveyor belt, you can automate a pumping station, whatever you feel you should do. Energy distribution. We developed an energy distribution switchgear, which is unique as it covers different voltages from the output. The input is everything from 10 kilovolt downwards, whatever you wish. And then output-wise, also we can switch 4160 as here, 3.3 kilovolt as in Europe and China, or 1 kilovolt, doesn't matter, and we can transform it down to a couple of 100 volts. It has a boltless door, so in case anything happens, you can open the door without having to unbolt it to open it manually. You just pull the handle and open the door. It automatically will detach from the grid, and we have on the upper right side, so contactor modules, you can swap out one contactor module. You can have different voltages in different compartments, so upper compartment 1000 volt, lower compartment 4160, that would be possible. And you can completely isolate that switchgear from above ground. So that is also completely new and an absolute safety feature. You also see one of the screens where you see the status of the single contactor modules. You can either see whether they are busy or not, or whether they are in operation or not. And you can also see that from above ground in the same way or form. You can also see the current consumption, etc. That is an example for a combined transformer and switchgear. We do these transformers up to 7.5 megawatt, so that is huge. And then they also would be water cooled. As a seminar is about transportation, I said I do not so much in terms of slides for the other products, but perhaps some more slides on the transport side of things. We can see transport in coal mining, and transport in coal mining traditionally is rail-bound transport. So we developed out of that tradition a couple of rail-bound systems. We also developed rail-bound systems, as you see on the second slide, for hard rock mining. There's a special container developed for hard rock mining. That container can turn by 180 degrees, and by doing so, unload very fast and very efficient. Then, of course, I said we are in tunneling and we are in tourist transport. The most impressive installation we have in tourist transport, not that our installation is so impressive. The area where we installed it is very impressive. is a Wieleczka mine in Poland. So whenever you come to Poland and to Silesia, Wieleczka mine is a mine you should visit. It's an old salt mine, and they have a cathedral underground. It's definitely worth going. Yeah, that is all our transport products. So I will not go through that in detail, just the main topics. So for the transport product, basically, it is the first thing we differentiate is it floor mounted or is it on the roof? Now you could ask, why do you want to put something on the roof? Several reasons. First reason is because we had very deep mines in Germany. So in our area, the mine was 1,700 meters deep. And at that depth, basically, the floor tends to move up. So it's easier to hang something on the roof. And also, when you hang it on the roof, you can hang it above a conveyor belt. You need lesser space. But we got both options. The next question is then, I think, is how we power it. And that can be diesel or battery powered, or even for certain areas, we do it with a pull rope. Then, yeah, it has friction drives or comes with a rack and pinion drive. The most important thing is that is all rail-bound. For the tire vehicles, we had no tire vehicles in our product program. For the tire vehicles, we choose a cooperation with a company called Miller, located in Canada, and I don't want to give that company presentation because that Dean Robinson will do. But you already can see one of their vehicles, at least a portion. Our battery solution is called CA190 Volta. It is a battery monorail with 120 kilonewtons of pulling force. It comes with a charger, and the charger is included in the battery. That has a big advantage that wherever you have power in the mine, you can charge your train, your battery. We have charging cycles up to 80% that we will use there around 2 hours for 80% charging, which makes sense for that kind of product because that product basically goes with high load. We have lifting beams there, and we can load up to 64 ton on one beam, and we can carry several lifting beams. So if you do so, you need certain times to load and unload, and during that time you can easily charge. The batteries come with our own battery management system to avoid, basically to make sure that all cells are properly coordinated, all battery cells, and to avoid overheating, overcharging, or over-discharging. The most important thing for the battery is, as it is contained of different single cells, we can almost give it whatever physical form. So if there is a need for a vehicle to be electrified, yes, we can deliver the battery, and yes, we can then also electrify it. What we are working on is autonomous mining. I said remote controls, either remote controls for underground, remote controls for above ground, and funny enough, that is not just an idea of one of our engineers. That is an air-conditioned cabin. That is a request of a Polish mine. So they want to improve the working conditions and look after the health and safety of the driver. We are currently developing that product, and it's already sold to the mine. Mine trans in hard rock. Yeah. In hard rock, we see mainly what we call steep trans. Our system, as it goes on a rack and pinion drive, can do inclines up to 30 degrees. And 30 degrees is a lot in terms of incline. So that leads to, we jump that one, that leads to a situation where you have a new way underground. On the left-hand side, you see the conventional version, where you go underground basically in cycles. That is a much longer way, and you must mine much more material and extract much more material to get there than going direct. You cannot see that properly here, but if you must carry an LHD, then you can either pull it via rope with the train, or you can actually hang it on a lifting beam. As I said, a lifting beam would be the ideal solution because we can carry triple tons. Yeah, quick comparison. If we do that comparison, we see that on the one hand side, when you go 100 meters deep, you must extract, with a conventional system, 25,300 cubic meters, with the other system, 3,900, which is more or less a factor 7. And that is a factor 7, which is definitely what you feel in terms of money and what you also feel in terms of carbon footprint, of course. Yeah, now starts a short video to show us our Polish operation where these products are manufactured. So that's our test track in Poland. It has an incline also of 30 degrees. That is the area where it's manufactured. It's like an automotive factory. Yeah? Several lines where we manufacture transport systems. No worries, you can steer that train either from the front cabin or the rear cabin, so it's not going down without a driver. Okay, that was a short video just to give you an impression of how that looks like on our test track and in the factory. Evolution, what do we see? We see, as I said, a connected mine, and a mine should be able to do what? Mining. A mine should not fight with interfaces. So we see us as a provider of all sorts of gear, which is, in the end, plug and play. So what we know from above ground, we should also have the same underground. Safe, efficient, and sustainable. Where we come from, where we go. In the past, yes, I told you, we started with one customer, and it really was one mining group, one customer in one area. The Saar area only had one mining group. We developed out of that into an international supplier for all of the mining markets. Today, we are looking forward to supply more systems, not so much single products. So we are by moving forward, we are actually in the dark blue area, and we move into that blue area. We have a broad international customer base, and obviously we help our customers also to get into smart climate mining, so to mine with a lesser carbon footprint and to mine also then the right materials. Our focus is on a connected mine and a sustainable mine, so to say, a green mine. And now, my last slide. Thank you very much. Thanks for your attention.
Presentación. A continuación, dejo con ustedes al doctor Dean Robinson, quien nos presentará la charla Presentación de tecnologías de electromovilidad minera de Becker Miller. El doctor Robinson estudió en el Reino Unido y luego obtuvo su doctorado en comercio en la Escuela de Negocios Internacionales de la Universidad de Canterbury, antes de unirse a Miller Technology. El señor Dean desarrolló su experiencia en automoción, trabajó para el grupo de Volkswagen y dirigió varias empresas especializadas en la modificación de vehículos ligeros para aplicaciones mineras. Habiendo vivido en 4 continentes por periodos de un mínimo de 10 años cada uno, aporta una perspectiva global a Miller Technology, un grupo con sede en Canadá y Australia. Damos entonces la más cordial bienvenida al doctor Dean Robinson y por favor, adelante.
How are we doing with the sound? We switch on? Yes, okay. Now you can really hear me. The company we produced the first vehicle for is a company called Redpath. Coincidentally, Redpath are 5 minutes walk from our head office in Canada. And that's what it looked like, an amazing thing. It was built a little bit like a tank, or it looked like it, but it fell apart too easily. So we decided that we must look at better ways of doing things, make a stronger vehicle, one that will last, and will do the job underground in mining. So we started in 1979, 43 years ago, and that first vehicle there on the left, we called it the minecart. Quite a neat little vehicle, but as I say, it didn't last too long, so we needed a stronger vehicle, and we hit on the Toyota Land Cruiser. You may know it, it's not a vehicle available in Chile, but it's very popular in the mining industry in certain other parts of the world because it is very strong. So that's what we chose. And then as we went through the years, we continually wanted to get a stronger vehicle that would last longer in mining conditions. So these, unfortunately, were all diesel powered, but you see we did JCB and go down, we did Cummins engines because it's a very strong engine, and it goes down through all the iterations of a stronger vehicle. The main one that we ended up with, in 2017, we started producing the vehicle on the right. Now that is the best light-duty electric vehicle in the world. And I will qualify that statement later on, but it really is. We actually started designing it in 2017, and it's gone through various iterations through the years to end up with the vehicle you see there in the photograph. I should mention, you'll see we use the word ION. In fact, this is the 2022 ION Relay. ION is our brand for the electric drive system that we've developed and we use. So everything that's got an electric motor in the Miller technology range is called the ION something. And this is where we are now. We did have 3 facilities in North Bay, which is in Northern Ontario, but we consolidated into 1 facility, which you can see there up in the right. And those are the key brands, the key companies that we utilize to produce our equipment. So obviously Toyota is Toyota. Agrale, you may know, is a Brazilian military and bus manufacturing company. The Dana Axles are really an axle company, but they've recently purchased a very good electric motor company as well called TM4. And then Cummins is Cummins for the engines. Huber is a German company that we do get some components from. And Komatsu, you'll probably know, and JCB, very big earth-moving mining equipment. HBM makes the grader that we modify for mining, and ABT are a specialist brake company, and then Hiab is a crane company that we put the crane on the back of our vehicles. So all very straightforward. We are, unlike Becker, we only do vehicles. So it's a much simpler product range. This is that's actually the inside of the building. You just saw the photograph of the outside. The top one is our production facility. You can see there a bunch of Toyota Land Cruisers, in fact, being modified and turned into a Miller technology underground vehicle. Then on the left you have some of the warehousing facilities. And you can see the plan there. The production and assembly line goes straight through the middle of the building with everything else feeding in, be it rebuild, welding and fabrication, etc. Oh, and the rebuild is for axles and engines. Our network, we've been, as I say, going 43 years. So we have distribution agreements with many companies around the world. And where you've got a star there, you'll see those are our dealers in diverse countries such as Mongolia, and of course Chile now with Becker, South America, and Finland, Russia, etc. Although we're not doing so much with Russia right now for obvious reasons. And we started our Australian company in 2019, so just over 3 years ago. And here is our bread and butter. This is where we came from. This is what we do currently. We still make the diesel vehicles. Of course, they're still the most popular thing. Everybody knows about electric. Everybody is investigating and looking at it. But still, regrettably, the main sales or purchases are diesel engine vehicles. And here's something you get an idea of our background. The ANFO loader is the first one in that list. That's an ammonium nitrate explosive. It's quite a fun vehicle. It drills holes, puts explosives in, then it withdraws to enable the blasting to take place. And then ambulance and various iterations of personnel carriers. And then even going down to we have basic mechanics trucks, electricians' trucks, and they all have, at the bottom of that list there, ROPS FOPS, rollover protection system and fallen object protection system. So if anybody unfortunately rolls the vehicle, they should be relatively safe, and I state relatively. And fallen objects, if large rocks, if some of the ceiling comes down, then they should be protected as well. Braking, obviously very important in mining. As Dr. Wegener mentioned, you know, you're looking at 30-degree inclines, declines, and the trucks are very heavy. So you've got to have a good, solid way of stopping them. And virtually all underground vehicles have got a secondary redundant braking system in case there's a failure of the initial system. And we have various different options, but they tend to be spring-applied, hydraulically released, known as SAR brakes, which means that the brake is trying to apply itself all the time, and hydraulic pressure keeps the pads free. When the hydraulic pressure drops, then pads are applied and the vehicle brakes, and it's all done automatically. In fact, you don't actually need the conventional handbrake in the car, because when you open the door or switch off the ignition or unlatch the seatbelt, the brake automatically applies. So, fail-safe. And in the same way as we modify the Land Cruisers, which you saw on the previous slide, we also do the JCB earth movers. So we develop them into specialist mining application tools, if you like, or vehicles. Now, as I mentioned, we always want a heavier, more robust and stronger vehicle for the mining industry. And so we developed the Diesel Max, or Miller Max. This is our own vehicle, devised, developed, designed in-house. So it's not like the Toyota Land Cruiser, which is a modified vehicle that we receive from Toyota, then we do things to it. This was entirely built in-house. And as a result, it is a monster. The payload is nearly 5 tons, whereas a Toyota Hilux or a Land Cruiser, the payload is only 1 ton. But this thing will carry 5 tons. It's very strong. But it's only the footprint of a Land Cruiser. And I'll give you an example. You can see that that's the yellow vehicle is the Max, and the white vehicle is the Land Cruiser. And you can see the footprint is pretty well the same. So for the same space you're taking up, as it were, you have a far more flexible machine that can really do a lot of work for you underground. In addition to just the standard type of vehicle you've just been looking at, we also do an underground grader. This is a low-profile machine, so it can get into very low seams and make sure the roadbed is properly graded and is smooth. And that's very important for electric vehicles, strangely enough, because it's surprising the effect the roadbed has on the drain or the draw from the battery on an electric vehicle. And we also now, we're launching next month in Germany our first electric grader. So it is this machine, but instead of with a diesel engine, it's electric drive. But I'll come on to that in a second. So the question is, why go electric? We all know the obvious advantages: low pollution, safety, etc. But this was a study, the result of a study done in Ontario, which is the most populous province of Canada. And if you look at the chart on the left here, you'll see this figure here, the mining figure, starting from the bottom. This is key. It's a very shocking statistic for us as well. Of all the people exposed to DPM, diesel particulate matter, in their job, of all of them, mining only makes up about 3%. There we go. You can see the transportation and warehousing is the bulk. But bear that in mind, 3% for mining. Now, if you go over to the pie chart, first pie chart, this is the incidence of lung cancer according to the occupational exposure, so how much they get exposed to DPMs. Now, going back, you saw mining only has 3% of people exposed to the DPM, but here, mining contributes 40% to lung cancer. So that is horrific. I mean, that is a seriously concerning figure. So that is the human reasons are the key reasons we're going electric. Now, there's another advantage to electric as well. The vehicles are smart. They're smart vehicles, so you get a lot more out of them than you would out of a standard internal combustion engine. For instance, the vehicle generates the signals, sends a signal up to the cloud, and then through a gateway, and those signals can then, or that data can then be used to generate reports for diagnostic control, and just generally is a very neat way of operating a machine, because you can also upload the software remotely, so it's bidirectional. You can take the data from the vehicle, but you can also upload to it and change the software parameters according to whatever you may require. Things may change. There may be different working conditions in a particular zone, so you want to change the maximum speed, for instance. So you can do that as a supervisor sitting in your office. You can do it on the machine or to the machine. Okay, so what do we offer at the moment? Our flagship vehicle, as I mentioned, is the Ion Relay. And this really is the best vehicle of its type in the world. One of the reasons I say that, and a key reason, is that this vehicle can be charged to 94% of its capacity in 18 minutes. That's from a flat battery to 94% in 18 minutes. Now, the 18 minutes will give an average 10-hour mining shift. That doesn't mean it's driving for 10 hours, but we've data logged and analyzed literally many thousands of mining shifts, and we've calculated 10 hours. Now, on top of that, you have regenerative braking that charges the battery as the vehicle is going down a decline. That can give you an extra 2 hours. So again, just from your 18-minute charge, you can have a 12-hour mining shift. And that is revolutionary. There is no other vehicle in the world that can give that performance. And it's created through the BMS, through extremely stringent control of the battery cells, and also the actual battery production as well. But that's a whole nother discussion, perhaps, with chemical engineers and the battery people here. So that is a very clever vehicle. As I mentioned earlier, it's very smart. It recognizes which zone it's in, and it will automatically adjust its maximum speed to the speed required in that zone. So maybe going down the ramp, it's 20 k's an hour, hits the level, it's 30 k's an hour, and on the surface it's 40. But it automatically knows that and changes the maximum accordingly. Because miners are a special breed. And if you tell them that the vehicle's maximum is 40, they all want to try and push it to 80 just to prove that they can do it. So it needs that control. Additionally, and Becker actually do produce these, it has collision avoidance systems. So it recognizes, as Wolfgang was mentioning earlier, recognizes both people and other vehicles where they are and gives alerts to ensure that there's no, well, to try and ensure there are no accidents. Very safe system. Then a slightly more basic vehicle is the Toyota Land Cruiser, but of course it's got a more basic price as well. So it depends what your needs are. Land Cruisers are a great vehicle. Very strong relative to what you can buy off the shelf. But here's the thing, and you should all be aware of this, you should know, because I don't think this is often gets discussed. Chile, in our field, in other words, light duty vehicles in mining, Chile is the biggest market in the world, no question. It's much bigger than Australia, South Africa, etc. In fact, I think that last statement is absolutely true. I think it is true to say that Chile will be more than the combined South African Australian numbers. So it is a very big market for us. Our problem as a company historically is we only did the Land Cruiser and some of those other specialist vehicles. The Land Cruiser is not used in South America and not used in Chile. So we had nothing really for this market. But now realizing how big the market is, we are developing currently, we call an easy swap kit, but it's more of a universal kit, which is an electric kit to convert a Toyota Hilux or a Mitsubishi Triton or a Volkswagen Amarok or Nissan Hardbody, any of them. It's one kit, very simple, and the only difference in the kit is an adapter plate to the transfer case. So you've got the same basic electric kit for your entire fleet if you've got a variety of vehicles. It's very advantageous to the mining sector, especially when they've got a varied fleet. The likes of Codelco and Anglo in Chile don't have that situation because they typically, I think Codelco, I believe now, uniquely use the Toyota Hilux, and Anglo uniquely use the Mitsubishi Triton. So they don't have mixed fleets anymore. But there are many other mining houses that do. And that the Toyota Hilux kit will be available in Q1 next year, between January and March. So as an average, let's say it'll be available in February. So here's the relay. You can see there in the photograph, that's just a chassis with a centrally mounted motor. It's very good for the weight distribution. The axle weights are more or less 50-50, not quite, but more or less. So it makes the handling and control that much easier. And also, our head of R&D was a bright guy. He was a mechanic, just basically a mechanic. Decided there was more to life, went to university, qualified as a mechanical engineer. Then he furthered his studies later and became an electrical engineer as well. And in modern terminology, we'd call him a mechatronics engineer, although this was before mechatronics was actually a discipline. But because of his background on the tools, as we say in Australia, as a mechanic on the shop floor, he really understands the need for accessibility of componentry and ease of maintenance. And as a result of that motor sits, as I say, centrally, and it's below the front seats. To get access to it, you just flip the seats. There's an engineering hook device above it, and you can just pull out the motor and work on it very simply. And I've actually seen him pull the motor out, do some work, get it back in 40 minutes. And that is remarkably quick. Then you have under the bonnet or hood photograph. It shows some of the componentry that goes into it. And what you're looking at there, actually, with all the orange cabling, that's the BMS system that controls the batteries. And in the relay, there are 4 batteries underneath that BMS. 2 underneath the BMS and 4 in the back. So there are 6 batteries in the vehicle. And there it is again. That slide really is just to show how good it is mechanically as well as electrically. The suspension is very good. And I had BHP came to see us, and subsequently they bought the vehicles. And their comment for their project manager was that the ride was relatively like a limousine, and it's down to the suspension. And I was once in a meeting in Australia with some senior BHP management, and one of them was the lady from Health and Safety. From Human Resources, from HR. So I said, with respect, why are you here? You're an HR person. And she said, well, because I believe that your vehicles will cut down our medical bills, because the amount of expenditure they have looking after their workforce that operate these vehicles through back damage to the vertebrae and the spine. And her interest was how we could help that, and it has now proven to be the case. BHP have been operating these in a mine in Queensland, Australia, for it's approaching a year now, about 10 months, and they have seen a drastic reduction in medical problems of those drivers and operators. Okay, and this is the Land Cruiser. This is more off the shelf, whereas the Relay is our design, pure and simply. And the motor has two drive shafts coming straight out of it, front and back. Whereas the Land Cruiser just picks up on the transfer case. It's an electric motor and battery, picks up on the transfer case, so it uses the back end of the mechanical aspects. So simpler and therefore less expensive. And this only has one battery. The under hood or under bonnet shot there, the lower photograph, that big grey slab is the battery. And there you see what it looks like underneath. It's a neat conversion, but, and I know Codelco are looking at one at the moment to put on trial, or another one to put on trial, but this vehicle is not really the right vehicle for the Chilean market. One of the big issues that always comes up when you talk about electric vehicles is, what about battery fires? And people get extremely emotional about this. Bear in mind that what they're comparing it to is loads of vehicles going around with explosive, flammable liquid in a tank, as opposed to a battery. So there's a certain degree of risk everywhere. With our batteries, there's literally tens of millions of dollars being spent on testing. And the batteries we use are used by the US military in their submarines, in their battle tanks, and in their armored personnel carriers. All places you really do not want to be caught in a battery fire. So an awful lot of testing has been done on these. And I'm not going to bore you with all the tests because it goes on and on. But you'll see here there's housing loads, leakage, short-circuiting. They submerge it in salt water for a period of time, I forget how long, but it's at 1.2 meters. And so on and so on, thermal shock, etc. Now, if anybody is actually really interested in the depth and the certifications these things are tested to, say you will be able to see this in the presentation later on. Okay, so the charging. I mentioned that's mine site BHP in Australia. The left-hand photograph is of two of the relays on charge. This particular charger is a great system. As you can see, that's it. That is one complete charger, and another one over here. And that's it. Just looks like an ordinary gas tank, petrol tank. But it's fully sealed, it's liquid cooled, glycol cooled, and it can go on, because of the sealing, it can go down underground and be situated underground without any other humidifiers or anything else, or a sealed clean room. Doesn't need any of that. Whereas this one here is a Portuguese manufactured system, very good charging system, but it's not sealed, it needs a lot of special attention. So we are now going with this one. It's a company called Tritium. They happen to manufacture, or their head office is actually not far from where we are in Brisbane, in Queensland. But they're now huge in the States. They've got they're just opening a massive plant, and they've got one already in California. Very large company. We work closely with them. They developed this charger specifically for us to be mine ready. Okay, and this is the grader I was talking about. Much awaited. It is the EV grader. It's electric, and it uses exactly the same drivetrain as the ion relay. The only difference is it has 2 additional batteries. So this has 8 batteries rather than 6. But that is the difference. So again, if you're a mining company, a purchasing officer looking at maintenance and spare requirements, it's the same inventory of spares for this and for the relay. So it makes sense. It cuts down your inventory holding of spare parts, which is, of course, key in any industry, but particularly in mining. And that's being released. There's a big show in Germany, in Munich, next month called Bauma, and that's where we'll be launching it. And we already have orders. We've got pre-release orders from BHP. And that's just some of the vehicles at work. There's top left there, there's a relay and Land Cruiser, both electrics, underground, actually in a gold mine in Canada. And that's probably our biggest resource customer. It tends to be gold and nickel in Canada, as well as the contractors that go across all mines and all resources. Now, I had to put this in, otherwise Dr. Wegener would have been very upset with me. It is available now from Becker, and there you see Jose Luis and Ignacio sitting down there. But that's what they look like if you see them walking around shortly. And I'd just like to run the video, please, if I may. I've just got a 3-minute video just to sit through. must apologize for that music, not my choice. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for your time and for your attention. And thank you particularly to the university too for enabling this to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson, for your presentation. A continuación, la última presentación que estará a cargo del señor Felipe Rodríguez, de Augmented Analytics, Emercom, quien presentará su charla Lanzamiento, Apoyo, Campaña Naciones Unidas de Road Safety, de Gestión de Emergencia y Seguridad en la Electromovilidad Minera. Señor Felipe Rodríguez, bienvenido.
Buenos días a todos. Voy a partir por dar las gracias, como siempre, a la Universidad Autónoma por invitarnos, por hacer este esfuerzo de reunir a la empresa privada, a los alumnos y a los actores intervinientes en este tema, en este segundo seminario del Campus 5G de la Universidad Autónoma, refiriéndonos en lo que nos respecta a nosotros en temas de seguridad en electromovilidad. Me tocó ser el último exponente en español para que podamos explayarnos un poco más, y voy a tratar de ser lo más breve posible en honor al tiempo para que después puedan salir a ver la exposición del motor, del ensamblaje del motor que trae Baker Mining en conjunto con Miller. Sin lugar a dudas, nosotros interactuamos a diario con la electromovilidad, la tenemos presente hoy día. Sin ir más lejos, hemos escuchado cómo se desarrolla la electromovilidad en el ambiente minero, cuáles son los desarrollos y las tecnologías y cómo éstas van avanzando y nos van proponiendo nuevas soluciones, nuevas formas de operación, nuevas formas de uso de los recursos que tenemos siempre disponibles, como son los vehículos. Nosotros como seres humanos interactuamos en todo orden de cosas con esta tecnología y, por supuesto, interactuamos con la electromovilidad. No es ningún problema, es una energía sustentable, es un método de transporte sostenible, así lo plantea el Plan Estratégico de Electromovilidad Nacional. Todo tiende a ir hacia un movimiento en electromovilidad, por lo tanto, nosotros nos vamos a tener que acostumbrar cada día más a tener que interactuar con estas tecnologías que están a disposición del transporte. ¿Cuándo empieza a haber algún problema? Cuando esa interacción que nosotros tenemos se transforma en una interacción no deseada, ¿no es cierto? Como estamos viendo en la imagen, según datos que extraemos de nuestro propio país, son datos de acá, de Chile, cada 6 minutos hay un accidente de tránsito y cada 1 hora hay una persona fallecida o con lesiones graves producto de esta interacción, ¿no es cierto?, de los vehículos con nosotros, con las personas. Es por eso que hemos aprovechado esta instancia para poder hacer el lanzamiento de código rescate de nuestro desarrollo en conjunto con la campaña Road Safety que está promovida por Naciones Unidas para poder reducir las muertes y las lesiones graves producto de los accidentes de tránsito. Esta campaña tiene un plan a nivel mundial. Ya lo vamos a explicar en breve en las siguientes diapos. Vamos a dar el punto correspondiente a lo que concierne la minería. Toda esta interacción que nosotros tenemos en el ambiente público, afortunadamente, dentro de la minería, nosotros el ambiente lo tenemos regulado. La minería, sobre todo la minería en Chile, da modelos de eficiencia en seguridad. sin ir más lejos, ha habido un descenso sostenido en la última década de los accidentes fatales o las mortalidades que tenemos en minería. Eso hoy día es una realidad. La minería chilena se maneja en altos estándares de seguridad. Lamentablemente este año, desafortunadamente, hemos tenido dos lamentables accidentes fatales en el último tiempo, pero para cada uno de esos, la minería tiene un sistema de gestión de riesgos críticos, tiene un sistema de estándar de control de fatalidades y protección a la vida. ¿A dónde queramos llegar con esto? A que esa interacción de los vehículos en electromovilidad está muy acotada, está muy segura dentro de un ambiente industrial como es la minería, por toda esta conjunción de normas que el propio sector productivo de la minería nos lleva, ¿no es cierto?, siempre pensando en esta forma de trabajo seguro. En la imagen podemos ver tres tipos de vehículos. Esos tres tipos de vehículos hoy día existen en desarrollo como vehículos eléctricos. En la imagen vemos tres tipos de vehículos, sin embargo, uno de ellos difícilmente lo vamos a ver transitando por las calles, que son los camiones de extracción minero. Pero sí nos podemos encontrar día a día con un bus eléctrico o con un vehículo liviano eléctrico, ¿ya? Y es ahí donde nosotros aportamos desde Código Rescate en poder implementar, poder integrar las tecnologías que están disponibles para poder, al servicio de la comunidad y de los intervinientes en el ámbito de la seguridad, soluciones que vayan integrando esta tecnología y que se vayan poniendo a disposición de las entidades que tienen la responsabilidad, ¿no es cierto?, de poder atender, por ejemplo, una emergencia. ¿Por qué lo digo? Tomando lo que les estaba comentando anteriormente, existe este plan mundial, ¿no es cierto?, de Naciones Unidas, en donde se nos proponen ciertas metas. Esas metas tienen objetivos y tienen líneas de acción tremendamente claras y tremendamente concretas. Y lo que nosotros estamos haciendo en Código Rescate es precisamente poder aportar con soluciones que integran esta tecnología, aportar precisamente en uno de los aspectos, el más relevante precisamente, con respecto a la seguridad de las personas en la interacción con estos vehículos eléctricos, que es aportar en el conocimiento y aportar en el entrenamiento en conjunto con una herramienta potente como es el desarrollo de esta aplicación, ¿no es cierto?, que lo comentó Alejandro en un comienzo, el desarrollo de esta aplicación que me permite entregarle la información pertinente en el momento oportuno a los primeros respondedores de emergencia, en este caso, por ejemplo, pública, que tal como dijo Alejandro, en Chile existe una normativa que regula esa respuesta en el ABC de la emergencia, donde en la A tenemos a la ambulancia, el SAMU, en la B tenemos a bomberos y en la C tenemos a carabineros. Ellos son los que resuelven todo tipo de emergencia en la vía pública. ¿Y nosotros qué estamos haciendo? Estamos poniendo una herramienta que le va a permitir a ese ABC de la emergencia, a ese conjunto de primeros respondedores, obtener la información de seguridad relevante de los vehículos eléctricos para lograr un objetivo primordial, que es tener una respuesta segura y eficiente, no solamente para los equipos que responden a emergencia, sino también para las víctimas que están dentro de un vehículo, ¿ya? La electromovilidad nos supone ciertos desafíos en cuanto a temas de seguridad que inclusive al día de hoy siguen en desarrollo, como por ejemplo los gases irritantes que emanan desde las baterías en caso de algún cortocircuito, o por ejemplo los fenómenos de fuga térmica que se pueden dar con la ignición del litio dentro de las celdas de una batería de ion litio. Entonces, precisamente lo que nosotros estamos haciendo es poder entregar esta herramienta y disponibilizarla al ABC de la emergencia para que pueda dar una respuesta de manera más eficiente y más segura, alineado con lo que propone este Plan Mundial de Naciones Unidas para poder reducir las muertes y las lesiones graves producto de accidentes de tránsito en esta década hasta el año 2030. Por eso la campaña es 50-30, 50% de reducción de fatalidad y lesiones al año 2030. Bien, ¿trabajamos cómo? Trabajamos con un objetivo tremendamente claro. Por un lado, la industria minera tiene las normativas, la legislación, los estándares de control de fatalidad, los riesgos críticos asumidos, controlados. Sin ir más lejos, la operación de un vehículo liviano o pesado dentro de la minería corresponde a un estándar de control crítico, ¿ya? ¿Por qué? Porque precisamente hay accidentes en la operación. Si a esto le sumamos la electromovilidad, nos llega una nueva condicionante, un vehículo que hoy día aún no terminamos de investigar. Se producen diferentes fenómenos. Por ejemplo, aún no sabemos qué pasa, por ejemplo, cómo llevamos ese vehículo a energía cero para poder intervenir. Esto genera aún más problemas en la vía pública. ¿Por qué? Porque todas las personas que están dentro del área minera, por ejemplo, el área industrial, están muy conscientes de los riesgos que están dentro de su entorno. Pero un transeúnte, una persona natural, común y corriente, quizás no está enterada de los riesgos que puede haber asociados, por ejemplo, a un accidente con un vehículo eléctrico. Pero hay una institución que, por excelencia, actúa como una amalgama, justo entre medio, ¿no es cierto?, de ese ámbito minero, privado, industrial y el ámbito público. Esta institución son los Bomberos de Chile. ¿Por qué? Porque Bomberos de Chile está inserto en la respuesta, ¿no es cierto?, de la emergencia. Sin ir más lejos, hoy día tenemos presente al tercer comandante del Cuerpo Bombero Maipú, está presente con su departamento abocado precisamente a esta área, don Christopher Ramos, lo saludo, mi comandante. ¿Por qué? Porque precisamente estamos haciendo un desarrollo en donde trabajamos hermanadamente con el Cuerpo de Bomberos para poder entregarle esta herramienta. De hecho, el Cuerpo de Bomberos de Maipú va a ser el primer cuerpo de bomberos a nivel nacional que va a tener esta herramienta en su teléfono, esta aplicación cargada, para que los bomberos puedan ocuparla, esta versión beta de esta aplicación Código Rescate, para que podamos aumentar la seguridad de la respuesta a emergencia. ¿Qué es lo que ganamos con eso? Le estamos entregando información que el bombero necesita en el momento para poder actuar de manera segura. Condiciones de seguridad del vehículo, donde se puede hacer la desconexión del paquete de baterías de alto voltaje, donde podemos hacer una maniobra de extricación, donde no podemos hacer una maniobra de extricación, qué pasa si tenemos una emergencia con fuego, qué pasa si tenemos una emergencia con materiales peligrosos y un vehículo en electromovilidad. Toda esa información que los bomberos han levantado, que manejan en el día a día en la respuesta, nosotros las vamos a ir trabajando en una mesa técnica para poder desarrollar todos los puntos de mejora que podamos incorporar a este ecosistema de soluciones de Código Rescate. ¿Para qué? Para que podamos ser eficientes y seguros en la respuesta, y así vamos empujando este compromiso que nosotros decimos asumir en conjunto con la campaña de Naciones Unidas de poder reducir las fatalidades en accidentes de tránsito al 50% el año 2030. Hoy día nuestras empresas asociadas, la OTEC, Emercon como gestión de emergencias y en conjunto con Aumentec Analytics, hemos tomado el compromiso y estamos desarrollando todo nuestro trabajo con respecto a la seguridad vial, reforzado en esta campaña de Naciones Unidas de Road Safety. ¿Cómo lo vamos a hacer? ¿Cómo lo entregamos de manera directa, de manera concreta y de manera oportuna a los servicios de emergencia? Muy bien. Primero, les comenté que tenemos este desarrollo, ¿no es cierto?, en conjunto con el Cuerpo de Bomberos de Maipú, donde estamos enriqueciéndonos mutuamente desde la información que ellos nos entregan y nos proporcionan desde la experiencia de la respuesta a emergencia en la calle, ¿no es cierto?, en la interacción en el día a día con los vehículos eléctricos, sumado esto a equipos especializados para la respuesta y a un campo de entrenamiento que nos va a permitir poder avanzar un poco más en la investigación, sobre todo del fenómeno del fuego en el litio. La imagen que ustedes ven, pequeñita un poco más abajo, en nuestro campo de entrenamiento en Mendoza, en donde nosotros estamos desarrollando cursos para bomberos y podemos entregarles el conocimiento y la experiencia real de práctica a los primeros respondedores de emergencias públicos, como son bomberos. Curiosamente, nuestra infraestructura nos permite, ustedes la están viendo ahí, es una infraestructura bastante particular. Esto es un simulador de fuego gigante, tiene casi 30 metros de largo, por 4 metros de ancho, por casi 7 metros de alto, en 2 niveles, lo que además nos permite a nosotros simular un túnel. ¿A dónde quiero llegar? Para que podamos ir, y ya voy cerrando con esto nuestra intervención. ¿Dónde queremos avanzar? Queremos avanzar en el ambiente de que la seguridad es integral. Esta estructura, además, por ejemplo, nos va a permitir poder desarrollar en Mendoza, en conjunto con la retroalimentación que nosotros hacemos del trabajo del día a día con bomberos, como les comentaba, no solamente poder desarrollar toda la investigación y todo lo que necesitamos saber con respecto, por ejemplo, al fuego en un paquete de baterías de alto voltaje de litio, también nos va a permitir, por ejemplo, hacer prácticas o poder posicionarnos en un estudio más avanzado con respecto a la respuesta de emergencia en túneles, porque ya ven en la imagen nuestro simulador de fuego nos permite poder desarrollar esa tecnología y nos permite poder avanzar así debido a las condiciones de estructura que tenemos en nuestro propio simulador. Si nosotros logramos concretar este anhelo, este proyecto, nos convertiríamos en la primera solución integral en respuesta a emergencia en poder montar un simulador de fuego vivo para emergencias en túneles en Latinoamérica, ya que de México para abajo no tenemos nada donde podamos entrenar en condiciones reales para poder proporcionar a la gente e instituciones que responden a emergencia la experiencia, la capacitación y el entrenamiento que corresponde a un respondedor de emergencia que se entrena y que se capacita bajo estándar normado. En resumen, y pongo esta bellísima foto de un parque de buses. Yo creo que muchos de nosotros hemos andado en estos bucecitos rojos, ¿no es cierto? Todos eléctricos. Para que ustedes sepan, el Cuerpo de Bomberos de Maipú tiene la responsabilidad de atender en caso de emergencias el electroterminal más grande de Latinoamérica. Está ubicado en la comuna de Maipú. Y los bomberos tienen la responsabilidad de poder atender ese tipo de emergencias en ese electroterminal, el más grande de Latinoamérica. ¿Qué es lo que andamos buscando como código rescate? Bueno, queremos entregar soluciones y ser socios estratégicos en el desarrollo de la electromovilidad. Estamos trabajando arduamente en poder integrar soluciones que sean concretas y que nos den aporte y generen valor no solamente a nosotros, que generen valor a todos los socios estratégicos y a todo el ecosistema que se va generando en base a este desarrollo. Deseamos incrementar, por supuesto, nuestra participación activa. Sin ir más lejos, estas actividades son precisamente para poder incrementar nuestra participación y así poder entregar mejores y mayores soluciones. Y no nos cabe duda que avanzando juntos vamos a poder entregar soluciones que van más allá de una mera respuesta de emergencia. Son soluciones que involucran incluso un cambio social. Como ya habíamos dicho, y para cerrar con esta frase, poder lograr el objetivo de disminuir en un 50% las muertes y las lesiones a causa de un accidente de tránsito no solamente involucra la seguridad de las vías, por supuesto, no solamente involucra la seguridad de los vehículos, como lo estábamos viendo en el caso de Miller, con su vehículo que es absolutamente seguro para la faena minera, sino que también involucra algo que cuesta mucho cambiar, que es la conducta, porque podemos tener el auto más seguro, podemos tener la vía más segura, podemos tener todo un plan de desarrollo de seguridad vial, pero eso no basta si es que nosotros como usuarios no nos preocupamos de ocupar las vías de manera segura. Es por eso que uno de los ejes principales de la campaña de Road Safety se llama Love 30. ¿Qué significa esto? Se está promoviendo que la velocidad máxima para las zonas en donde se interactúa de manera directa peatones con vehículos, la velocidad máxima sea 30 kilómetros por hora. ¿Por qué es ese motivo? Porque a partir de esa velocidad nosotros podemos asegurar un mayor índice de sobrevida en caso de que exista un accidente. Ese es nuestro propósito, eso es lo que nosotros estamos desarrollando. Queremos incrementar nuestra participación y queremos incrementar este tipo de soluciones que estamos seguros no solamente, como les dije en un comienzo, no solamente aportan una herramienta de gestión, sino que estamos seguros y confiamos en que precisamente podemos aportar en un cambio social y en un beneficio mutuo, tanto para los bomberos que hacen el trabajo de poder rescatarnos, como nosotros cuando somos víctimas de un accidente vehicular. Traté de ser lo más corto posible en nuestra exposición, atendiendo el tiempo. Le damos las gracias, por supuesto, a la Universidad Autónoma nuevamente, a nuestro decano de la Facultad de Ingeniería, que siempre nos convida y nos invita a participar en estas actividades. Muchachos, que tengan una buena tarde y creo que los vamos a invitar a poder participar allá afuera en la exposición pequeña que hay. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, Felipe. Excelente presentación. Gracias. Y para finalizar este seminario, vamos a invitar al escenario al decano de la Facultad de Ingeniería, el doctor Lorenzo Reyes, ¿ya? Y también director del Grupo de Investigación en Energía y Procesos Sustentables. Por favor, Lorenzo.
Ok, siempre es complejo cuando uno tiene que hablar al final. Primero quiero partir agradeciendo la asistencia de cada uno de ustedes. Voy a partir con nuestros expositores, al doctor Wolfgang Wegener, CEO de Baker Mining System, también al doctor Dean Robinson, director de Miller. Excelentes presentaciones, una mirada industrial que para la Facultad de Ingeniería le entrega antecedentes para el futuro desarrollo de colaboraciones. Y también agradecer la presentación de Felipe. Siempre es un agrado escucharlo y tener más nociones de lo que hacen, como dicen ustedes, el ABC de emergencia. He ido aprendiendo con ustedes. Estas cosas nosotros no las enseñamos en la facultad, pero siempre hay un buen complemento aquí y buenos ejemplos. Vamos a partir primero con la presentación de Wolfgang. Sin duda, la minería en Chile es el motor de la economía y va a seguir siendo por muchos años más. Esperamos que, así como lo estamos trabajando en nuestra Facultad de Ingeniería, a partir de fuentes renovables de energía y el desarrollo de la economía del hidrógeno, en los próximos años sea ese el nuevo motor de la economía de nuestro país, ¿ya? Hay distintos estudios que dicen que efectivamente la economía del hidrógeno va a ser tan o incluso más relevante que respecto a lo que es hoy la minería del cobre, ¿ya? Si uno ve los grandes números, Chile produce del orden del 27% del cobre que se produce a nivel mundial, sin duda produce mucho más que Australia, así que eso es cierto. También producimos más que nuestros vecinos en Perú. Y también tiene asociados muchos desafíos, ¿ya? ¿Por qué? Porque mucha de la energía que se ocupa en nuestra industria minera es de combustibles fósiles, ¿ya? Entonces tenemos que hacer ese cambio a la transición energética, así como nos hablaba en Miller de la electromovilidad. Sin duda que ese es el foco, ¿ya? Y no solamente en Sudamérica, no solamente en la industria minera, sino que a nivel productivo, ¿ya? La electromovilidad es el foco en la Comunidad Europea y en los países desarrollados. Ahí tenemos un gran desafío y tenemos grandes oportunidades. Tenemos dos grandes oportunidades. Primero, porque Chile es el principal productor de cobre, ¿ya? Y el cobre es el corazón de la electromovilidad. Y segundo, las energías limpias y renovables, donde Chile tiene un potencial energético sobre los 2 teravatios, y el desarrollo de la economía del hidrógeno. Por lo tanto, el cobre y el hidrógeno son las claves para la electromovilidad, ¿ya? Yo no solamente estoy pensando en aplicaciones en la industria minera, sino que mucho más allá. Y por lo tanto, nuestros estudiantes de la Facultad de Ingeniería, de la Ingeniería Civil Industrial, Ingeniería Civil Química, aquí estamos viendo temas mineros, donde hay mucho que aportar y contribuir, y la Ingeniería Civil Informática, vimos que el camión o esta máquina de Miller tiene muchos sensores, mucha tecnología, entonces ahí nuestros colegas de informática sin duda tienen mucho que contribuir. Entonces, Creo que hay varios elementos. Yo veo con un buen futuro poder establecer colaboraciones con este tipo de compañías porque es donde esperamos que nuestros estudiantes el día de mañana se desarrollen profesionalmente, ¿ya? Y no solamente en Chile, sé que es importante el tema idiomático también, para que lo tengan en mente nuestros estudiantes, porque el día de mañana ustedes van a estar en este tipo de compañías, ¿ya? Compañías que cada día son más de nivel global. Así que con esas palabras los quiero dejar invitados. Afuera hay una maqueta de Baker Miller para la conversión de vehículos diésel a eléctricos, tal cual nos presentó Dean en su presentación, y también hay una cinta transportadora que está en nuestro laboratorio de automatización y robótica, ¿ya? Nosotros esperamos que todos nuestros estudiantes se acerquen a esto, ¿ya? El uso de inteligencia artificial y tecnología de información y todas las herramientas que hoy en día están en boga, sin duda son un buen elemento para el proceso formativo de cada uno de ustedes. También quiero agradecer a las personas de comunicaciones y a todas las personas de la sede por darle el soporte necesario para concretar esta actividad, ¿ya? Hay varios de ellos que están con COVID positivo, así que un caluroso abrazo para cada uno de ellos. Muchas gracias a cada uno de ustedes.
Muchas gracias, decano. Y desde ya le damos las gracias desde la Universidad Autónoma de Chile y su Facultad de Ingeniería y agradecemos su asistencia y participación al segundo seminario Campus 5G.